It's time for another top 10 highlight of 2022. Yep, these are my top rock albums of 2022. But what's your favourite? What's your favourite song? What's your favourite album of this year? But here comes my top 10. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. We're doing another ranking, a top 10 ranking, but this is my top 10 albums of 2022. Now, when I go through some of these albums, I have reviewed some of them on the channel, but there's more, or certainly a lot more that I haven't reviewed, and I should have reviewed, but I probably spent too much time listening to them and not enough time talking about them. So this is my opportunity to talk about what albums have really done it for me this year. And I'm interested to know what your comments are on them. Is there any of these that would come into your top 10? Is there any that I've missed? So let's start with 10. Number 10. This is an obscure one. I expect no one who's watched this channel would have probably heard. This is a band called Galaxy, and they released an album called Runaway Men. Never heard of this band, and in fact, they only just sort of come onto my radar in the last sort of month or so. But they're basically a prog rock, I suppose, neo prog, really, in the sort of vein of early Marillion, bit of Genesis, and some of those sort of more sort of bands like Arena and Enchant and those sort of bands. They're a Dutch band from Holland, and basically the thing that's different with this album is that they actually wrote this album back in the 90s, but it's only just got released this year. But it's got chock full of great songs, great melodies, fantastic musicianship, and it's just a really good album. I'll put the Spotify links for all these albums in the description, but check out Galaxy, Runaway Men. It's a really good album, definitely worth listening. It makes it into my top 10. In number 9 is the newest album from Placebo that was released this year. Never Let Go is its title. For me, I think Placebo are a great band. I mean, I love their second album, Without You I'm Nothing. I think it's just an incredible album. But for me, their last album before this and this one have been really, really good. It's a real return to form. And I really do love Placebo. Again, a bit of a band that probably not many people that listen to rock and metal are necessarily going to be into, but I think their Never Let Go is a really good album, and that makes number 9 in my list. In 8th position, more traditional prog rock fans will probably have this in their top 10. And this is the return of Porcupine Tree with their closure continuation even. Their album, yeah. A great return to form, just what you expect. I mean, I don't think they really broke any boundaries, but it's almost like a best of Porcupine Tree, taking the sort of last of their more progressive albums, along with their more sort of art rocky albums like In Absentia and as Signified, those sort of albums. And I think it's a really great combination. Fantastic drumming by Gavin Harrison, as you'd expect, but a really solid, good return to form for Porcupine Tree, and that makes number 8 in my list. In 7th position was the new album by Muse, Will of the People. I thought this blew me away when I first heard it. I'm not a massive fan of Muse. I just don't really quite get them. One thing about Muse, I'm going to say it here because hopefully one of my friends is listening. He once said to me that he was told by someone, he's a massive Rush fan, as am I, and he once was told by someone, you should listen to Muse because they're like a British version of Rush. And his reply after listening to them was, well, there's 3 people in the band, and that's where the similarities end. And, I think they're a great band. They're much more commercial than probably any other progressive rock band there is. But this was a really great album, I thought. Catchy, quite heavy in places, not too overblown. Just a really good album. It's quite short for an album of this time of the year, modern album, which usually have 60 minutes. This was only about 30 odd minutes. So there's obviously all killer and no filler. So I'm putting Muse then in my 7th position. Yeah, that's 7th position. Will of the People. So let me know what you think of that album. In 6th position, again, another album that probably not many people will listen to, but I think this is a great album. Dividing Lines by the progressive metal band Threshold. These are a British band, but they've had quite a lot of different albums. But this, for me, is a great return to form, full of great melodies, a really cracking album. In fifth position is a great album, real return to form. I did a review on the channel, and that's Scorpions and their Rock Believer. Can you believe that this band, like most of the band members, are in their 70s and they're still rocking it out? This was, to me, a great return to sort of like the Blackout, Love Drive, Love at First Sting albums. And it's a really great album, and they deserve all the plaudits that they get for this album, because it's really, really good. If you like Scorpions and you like their classic sort of late 70s, early 80s sort of sound, then you'll really love this album. So Rock Believer by the Scorpions gets number 5. In fourth position, and this is another album that definitely I should have reviewed, but I didn't, and this is Ghost's new album, Imperia. What can you say about Ghost? I mean, I remember when they first sort of came onto my radar, and I looked at them and I thought their image sort of told me they were like a black death metal band or something in that sort of genre. You know, they're all dressed up and all the sort of black metal sort of imagery and stuff. But when I heard them, I thought, I actually sound more like Alice Cooper and Bon Jovi, much more of a sort of 80s rock. Their previous album was the first album that I got, and I thought that was really great. But this one just takes that one and just pushes it up even further. If you like classic rock, whether it's hair metal, there's lots of stuff in here that there's little bits that you recognise from some of your favourite bands of the 80s. Alice Cooper, Twisted Sister, Wasp, even bands like Bon Jovi, Iron Maiden. There's bits of those sort of their sound within them, but it's put together in a really great way with some real dark sort of themes, but a very light sound. It's not light sound, but the way that it's sung, everything's very sort of majory in terms of the sort of key that it's in, and so it sounds very sort of upbeat and happy. But when you actually look at the lyrics, it's quite dark. So I think they're a really great band. I think they've really taken the world by storm over the last couple of years, and they make number 4 in my list. Ghost Imperia. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. In third position, which was another album that I reviewed, this is Nothing in Writing, New Lives for a Rent. It's probably my lowest viewed video. Not many people have heard of this band. They're a new band, but they sort of, the main guy in it is from Odd Logic, one of my favourite bands that no one's ever heard of as well. But I think it's a really great album. If you like sort of prog rock, if you like lots of not great melodies, you like it so it's very accessible, then New Lives for Rent by Nothing in Writing is a really great album. And that makes my number 3 position. In second position, we're going more hard rock than we were prog rock. And this is Alter Bridge's new album, Pawns and Kings. Now, as I'm coming up to my 50th year, I remember when I first saw them live, it was on my 40th birthday around there, because I got some tickets from some friends of mine, and we went to see them, and I thought they were great then. The last couple of albums which sort of come out, I think at the beginning of the pandemic and near the end of it, sort of a bit lost their way really, and didn't really have much of an identity. And for me, I didn't really think much of them. So I went into this album with a sort of had low expectations, but it really blew me away. Lots of real big hard rocking stuff. It's got one of the best epics that they've ever done. The title track's really great. I think it's an absolutely great album, and I'd almost go as far as say it's their best album they've ever done. Maybe controversial, but I think it's a really great album. It's got all the best of their sort of stuff all rolled into one. So Pawns and Kings by Alter Bridge makes second position. And in first position, well, again, if you like prog rock, and if you see my channel and you see some of the music stuff that I've done on there before, you know that I'm a big fan of this band. This is An Hour Before It's Dark by, of course, Marillion. Definitely the album of the year. You wondered how they would top their last album, Fear, and you think, well, how are they going to top that? You know, that was an incredible album, but this one sort of somehow does it in a slightly different way. There's a little bit more upbeatness to it. There's a lightness, even though again some of the sort of subject matter is quite dark. But songs like Care are the most amazing song that a band could put together. It's got so much going for it, and it's got such an uplifting message, even though it's about something that's quite, obviously about the pandemic and about the NHS and everything else. My highlight on that album, I think, has to be The Crow and the Nightingale. Some absolutely amazing guitar playing by Steve Rothery. But the whole album is brilliant. It's really good, and you just can't wait and see what Marillion are going to do next. We'll probably have to wait a few years until we find that out, because they're not that prolific. They're not yearly albums that they come out. But I think Marillion's An Hour Before It's Dark has got to be my #1 album of 2022. So there's my top 10. Do you agree with any of them? Is there any sort of glaring omissions that aren't on there that you think, oh, that should have been on there? Rocker, you're talking rubbish. Where's this? Where's that? Where's Wolfsbane's new album? Where's Skid Row's new album? Yeah, they didn't quite make the cut, but they're still good albums. So I hope you enjoyed this top 10 albums of 2023. Again, I'm really interested to know what your top albums are. Is there any sort of hidden gems that maybe I should be listening to that I may have not even heard of before? Like, I've got some hidden gems within my top 10. Let me know in the comments. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. I know I say it all the time when I do a music video, I want to do more music stuff. I've got quite a few different music stuff lined up, but it's just about finding the time to do them and making sure that I research them a bit better so I can give you a bit more information. I've still got the some top 10s are a little bit different than normal, and I want to go into some sort of subgenres in rock and metal that we can talk about more. Some of the things that I'm really into, and hopefully they will be coming in 2023 at some point. So that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you have, and until the next one, keep on rocking.